once that comes back into crop or into season rather.
On your website, you mentioned that you're challenging the way people view and think about coffee. How do you want people to view and think about coffee?
I guess what that really means is, from my personal experience, when I had that cup of coffee from Bird Rock, it sort of just blew my mind and just really made me question and think about what I knew about coffee just in general, just from a taste profile, on the simplest level all the way down to farm level. So I think what we mean by rethink coffee is sort of challenging people to think about it in a different way, whether it's just changing from a Keurig machine to maybe going to a French press on the weekend, changing your brew method or becoming more involved in coffee that way, all the way down to farm level. And I know not everybody's going to, going to want to know and learn about farm level, but there are people out there that do want to learn about it, and that's something that our baristas they're more than happy to talk about, and they try to engage the customers, when they come in and teach them, something, so hopefully they can leave and they're leaving with more knowledge about coffee than when they came into the shop.
That's great. I think it's important to keep customers knowledgeable and informed with the different processes and where it comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing with that, so in all of our bags, we actually we have the region it's from, the country, the process of how the coffee was processed, so whether it's a honey process, a washed or wet process, or a natural process. And that really just sparks people's interest. And then from there, we can sort of dive into more detail, sort of talk to them about, what's a natural versus a wash process, or what's a honey process. And, just one thing leads to the next, and it's just a natural conversation just from sort of visuals on bags that people are looking at. We also put the elevation on there that the coffee sourced from, as well as the cupping notes, what we cupped in it and everything like that, just so it starts a dialogue.
You kind of answered this question a little bit earlier about telling home roasters to make mistakes, but do you have any other advice for home roasters?
Yeah, so when I started out, I actually asked that same question to the owner of Bird Rock, who did all the roasting there. And there's a website called Sweet Maria's. They're a green coffee importer for commercial operations, but they also have just an incredible amount of information for home roasting, and they also sell in 1 pound green coffee sort of bags. So you can buy a bunch of coffee from them. It's all reasonably priced, and just the wealth of information they have from roasting sort of theory and techniques all the way to, farm level and everything in between. It's all free. The guy, I think his name's Tom, and he's a licensed Q grader. So everything that he's sourcing is really high quality. So that's another thing, that helps to start with good quality coffee so that you can end up with a good cup after it's roasted. And that's where I would start. I use them for a ton of information. It's all free as well, which is awesome, and just a really good resource.
Do you have classes at Aveley Farms if people want to learn more about roasting?
So we don't do any roasting now. It's definitely something we want to do in the future, is hold sort of roasting seminars and stuff like that. This upcoming Friday, we do have free cupping from 10 to 10:30 on Friday morning, and that's something that we're looking to do every 2 weeks, and hopefully we can do that multiple times or throw a weekend in. But it's all free. It's something that we want to do to engage with the customers, teach them about coffee, sort of what we look for in coffee when we're sourcing and when we're roasting and evaluating coffee on our cupping table.
Yeah, that would be a great opportunity for people to learn more about the entire process and the sourcing.
Yeah, and so far I think we've had 2 or 3 classes, and we've had people that have come in that are home roasters, as well as people that are just interested in learning, more about coffee. And the home roasters, they want to learn more about what they're looking for when they're cupping their coffees they've roasted at home. And then, people that they're just genuinely interested in learning about coffee and, Yeah, it's really good. So there's no experience needed. You can just be a coffee fan that just wants to learn a little bit more, stop on by, and we all sort of evaluate and talk about the coffees. Everybody has a different favorite option on the table. So it's really good. It's good fun as well.
So, Corey, are you ready for the final 4 questions that we ask everyone on the podcast?
I am, yeah.
Perfect. This is a food podcast, but I'm going to try to twist it for coffee. What coffee or food destination do you want to visit that you haven't been to yet?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this after I saw this, and this is a tough one. So in terms of coffee, I really want to. I have a trip planned to Colombia in January as a sourcing trip. I'll be flying into Medellin down there and going to farm level. That would be my first trip to farm level and to origin and sourcing directly, with smallholder farmers. So I'm really excited about that. But I also, just in terms of a destination in general, from a food and coffee standpoint, I would love to go to Italy and just experience the scene over there. Sort of, a lot of people consider that really the home over there for espresso and cappuccinos. So that would be a really cool experience, as well as, who doesn't love Italian food? So that would be something that would be really fun to do.
That's exciting that you're going to Colombia, though.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited about that. And that's actually a trip with 2 Baltimore-based importers as well. One, her name is Yolima, and she imports, actually, her parents have a farm down there. So she grew up on a coffee farm in Colombia. So I'll be staying at farm level with them for a few days. And then another importer, his name's Steven. He grew up in Baltimore and now lives down there with his wife and family. And he works with various smallholder farmers. So I'll be spending a few days with him in the city and then also at farm level.
What meal is the hardest for you to pass up when you're out?
So any type of Mexican food. I love street Mexican food. I got into that really out west and still haven't found something similar back here. So if you have any suggestions on really good Mexican food, I would love to hear them and give it a try.
I wish I did, but it's a whole nother world when it comes to street Mexican food out in California.
Yeah, it really
and
is.
San Diego.
Yeah, so being 10 minutes from the border, is just, you had authentic street Mexican food. So I'm still looking for that back here, but I'm sure I'll find that eventually, hopefully. So
if I hear something, I'll let you know.
Awesome.
What TV show are you currently binging?
So TV shows, I'm not a huge TV guy. I don't watch a ton. My girlfriend loves reality TV, so she's gotten me into all of the Bachelor and Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise, all of those series. So I am a little embarrassed to admit it, but currently I believe it's the Bachelor in Paradise, and I think it's on tonight. So I'm assuming we're probably going to be watching that.
You're a better man than I. I'll make sure that we're done before that airs.
Okay, perfect.
If people want to learn and know more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so our website is aveleyfarmscoffee.com. You can also follow us on Instagram as well as Facebook, and that's Aveley Farms Coffee as well. So you can check us out there. And then we also just had an awesome article about opening up and sort of the whole Baltimore coffee scene in Sprudge Coffee. It's the biggest coffee publication in the U.S. and as well as the world. So that was pretty cool for the Baltimore coffee scene as well as Aveley to be featured on that. And that sort of tells where we got our start and our whole story through where we are today. So that's a really good place to check us out as well.
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
For those of you who haven't been to Aveley Farms yet in Baltimore, go right now. The coffee is amazing. Great location in Harbor East. I'm a big fan of the Harbor East latte.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And then one quick note too. So we are in a super old warehouse, and we are located on the 2nd floor. So a lot of people do sort of peek in and, they're like, oh, do I walk up the steps? Do I not? Please do walk up the steps and take your left. And I promise you won't be disappointed. It's a very cool space.
Is there a mural where people would know to find you?
There is, yeah. So on the side of the building, it's two loading dock doors that we actually painted a coffee mural on. And please tag us. A lot of people take photos in front of it and tag us, and we'd love to repost your guys' content that you tag us in on Instagram. So there is a mural, and it's the door directly next to that, and then up on the brick on the side of the building, we have Aveley Farms coffee roasters painted in huge lettering. So you can't miss it. It's directly across from the big empty parking lot in Harbor East, right where the Liberty Tower just went up.
Perfect. And thank you again, Corey, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, of course. No, I really appreciate it. And yeah, excited for all of you to come and check it out.
A big thank you to Corey Voelkel for joining me for today's episode. I also want to thank you, the listener, for taking the time to listen to today's podcast. If you like what you hear, please feel free to subscribe, download, like, review, and share with your friends. Also, follow us on the I'd Eat That podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. On Instagram, it's I'd Eat.that. Please follow. We have great content on there, and if you follow us, then you'll be notified when a new podcast will come out. Next week, we have Baltimore chef Cyrus Kiefer joining me. He's going to talk about his different projects that he's been working on. He was formerly the chef at Biroteca, Fork and Wrench, and Cunningham's. He's also been featured on the Baltimore Magazine. I'm really excited for that interview. I will see you next week. Thank you for joining me on the I'd Eat That podcast.